There's a silent ache in many men, not for conquest, not for casual company, but for a woman of depth. A woman who sees through the noise, who listens not just with her ears, but with her soul. A woman of substance, of elegance, of quiet power. But here's the hidden truth that most men never dare to confront. You don't attract this kind of woman by chasing her. You attract her by becoming someone she could respect, even in silence. Nietzsche once said, when one has much to put into them, a day has 100 pockets. He wasn't talking about schedules or to-do lists. He was talking about life, about depth, about becoming. In his work, scattered between his scorn for mediocrity and his longing for transcendence, lies a rarely discussed insight. The kind of man a high-quality woman is drawn to isn't found, he is forged. But what does quality even mean today? Swipe long enough on dating apps and you'd think it means symmetrical faces, job titles, gym bodies, or a curated lifestyle. Yet, if you really pay attention, if you listen closely in the quiet rooms where real conversations happen, you'll hear something deeper. Quality women are not attracted to noise. They are drawn to character, presence, integrity, vision. They are not seduced by chaos, but by calm strength. Not by volume, but by clarity. This idea isn't new. Since ancient times, men have struggled not just with attracting women, but with being the kind of man worthy of respect, love, and deep connection. From the chivalric codes of medieval knights to the philosophical meditations of Stoics, from the warrior poets of the East to the tragic antiheroes of Nietzsche's imagination, the question has remained: what kind of man draws the admiration and loyalty of a great woman? This video isn't about manipulation. It isn't about tricks, tactics, or getting women. It's about something harder, lonelier, and infinitely more rewarding. Becoming someone who doesn't need to chase. Someone who attracts, not just physically, but psychologically, spiritually. Someone who challenges women not by dominating them, but by being so rooted in his own becoming that he invites the same from them. Because, as Nietzsche believed, and as psychology now affirms, the highest relationships are not built on validation, but on mutual individuation, to souls becoming, not completing. And in a world drowning in performances, such authenticity becomes magnetic. So, if you've ever felt disillusioned with modern dating, if you've ever asked why the women you want don't seem interested, or why those who are interested don't move your soul, stay with me. This is the conversation we were never taught how to have. This is the story of becoming a man who doesn't just desire depth, but embodies it. To understand what it means to attract a quality woman, we must first understand what cultures across time believed made a quality man. For centuries, the ideal man was not measured by wealth or charisma alone, but by virtue. In ancient Greece, a man was judged by his heritai, his excellence, not just in battle, but in thought, action, and self-discipline. In Rome, it was virtues, the strength of character that made a man worthy of leadership and trust. These weren't surface traits, they were internal fortitudes, courage, restraint, wisdom, and a sense of responsibility to something greater than oneself. Back then, women of stature didn't choose men based on charm. They chose those who carried gravitas, men whose presence meant something. Lives weren't scattered across shallow pursuits. This wasn't about dominance, it was about direction. The same is true today, but we've forgotten how to read these signs. The modern world, obsessed with appearance and instant gratification, confuses flash with depth. And in doing so, both men and women often lose the map to something more meaningful. Nietzsche, writing in the 19th century, stood at the edge of this transition, between the ancient ideal and the modern chaos. He saw what was coming: the rise of herd morality, the decline of spiritual ambition, the birth of what he called the last man, a man without struggle, without vision, content to be comfortable but not courageous. Nietzsche's work wasn't a manual for success. So it was a cry against mediocrity, a rebellion against living small. He believed that only through becoming who we truly are, through a lifelong battle with ourselves, could we rise above the ordinary. His ideal was the Übermensch, not a superhero, but a man who overcomes, who transcends societal conditioning, and who lives with fierce intentionality. Now, what does this have to do with women? Because the quality of women you attract, not just romantically, but energetically, often mirrors the quality of your inner world. Shallow men draw shallow connections. Men without self-respect attract chaos, but men with vision, integrity, and a sense of higher purpose naturally resonate with women who are no longer playing games. The outer world is a reflection, and Nietzsche's idea of the self-overcoming man is the perfect counterpoint to the passive, reactive model many men follow today. Let's travel briefly to the East. In Sufi poetry, the beloved woman is often a metaphor for the divine, elusive, beautiful, and only drawn to the sincere seeker. Jalaluddin Rumi wrote, "The minute I heard my first love story, I started looking for you." But the journey to her wasn't simple. It required burning away the ego, confronting fears, and dissolving illusions. Only the soul, brave enough to walk through fire, could glimpse the beloved. This wasn't about seduction. It was about purification. The same applies to real life. A woman of quality, one who knows herself, who has emotional depth, who is intuitive and discerning, will not be drawn to chaos. She doesn't want to fix a man. She wants to be met, fully, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. And this meeting requires that a man be whole enough not to need her for validation, but wise enough to welcome her as an equal mirror. Historically, men were initiated into this understanding through rites of passage, through mentorship, through war or craft. There was pain, there was silence, there was solitude, but through it, they came to know themselves. Most men are thrown into the world with no such structure, no inner compass, no deeper reason for living except consumption, productivity, or escape. We swipe, we scroll, chase, but rarely become. Nietzsche understood this collapse. He feared it. He urged men to reawaken the will to power. Not power over others, but power over the self. The mastery of one's instincts, one's chaos, one's suffering, because only then can one create God. And creation is magnetic. Women are not blind to this. A woman who has done her own healing doesn't want to be your project. She wants to witness your process. She doesn't need you to be perfect, but she needs to feel that you're honest, that your strength is real, not performed, that your pain has shaped you, not poisoned you, that your silence is thoughtful, not cowardly, and above all, that your desire for her isn't rooted in lack, but in resonance, across all cultures, across all centuries. This truth has echoed again and again. The masculine attracts the feminine not through dominance, but through presence. Tense is born not from pretending to be something you're not, but by becoming everything you were meant to be. So when we ask, how do I attract a quality woman? The better question is, who must I become so that a quality woman feels seen, safe, and inspired in my presence? That is not an easy question, but it is the only one worth asking. Modern psychology confirms what Nietzsche intuited long before brain scans and therapy rooms existed. The deepest attraction is not to perfection, but to authentic integration. When a man is integrated, when his thoughts, emotions, desires, and values align, he exudes a grounded confidence that no amount of external swagger can fake. This is the invisible currency of attraction, especially to women who are emotionally intelligent. Psychologist Carl Rogers, one of the founding fathers of humanistic psychology, described the ideal personality as someone who is congruent, whose inner world matches his outer actions. That's rare. Most men today are fragmented, outwardly confident, inwardly terrified. They say what they think they should say, do what they think will please, all while hiding the vulnerable. real parts of themselves under layers of distraction and performance. This disconnect is felt, okay? And it repels depth. Women, particularly those who've done the work to heal and grow, are emotional intuitives. Not all, but many. And they don't fall for just the words. They feel for resonance. When your internal world doesn't match your actions, it creates what psychologists call incongruence. It's like an off-key note in a beautiful song. It breaks the spell. Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch was not about dominance. It was about wholeness, about reclaiming your chaos and turning it into order. Jung called this individuation, the process of becoming your true self by integrating your shadow, your wounds, your darkness, not hiding them, not shaming them, but owning them. This is incredibly attractive. Why? Because it signals maturity, the ability to hold paradox, the strength to be both vulnerable and fierce, soft and sharp, emotional and rational. Women crave this duality because it signals depth, safety, mystery, life. Let's bring in attachment theory, one of the most important psychological frameworks for understanding human relationships. According to this theory, people develop patterns of attachment based on their early relationships with caregivers. These typically fall into 4 categories: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. Men with secure attachment, who can express their needs without fear, regulate emotions, and respect boundaries, are rare and highly desirable, not because they're perfect, but because they feel safe, not in a boring way, in a deeply human way. And that safety creates space for passion, vulnerability, and exploration. On the flip side, men with anxious or avoidant patterns often unconsciously sabotage relationships. They either chase excessively, seeking validation to fill their inner void, or pull away to avoid vulnerability, mistaking distance for power. These patterns can be temporarily exciting, but ultimately they exhaust emotionally mature women. A quality woman doesn't want to be your therapist, nor your emotional parent. She wants a partner. And that requires a man to be emotionally literate, to know his patterns, own them, and grow through them. Nietzsche hinted at this too, though in different language. His critiques of morality, society, and weakness were fundamentally about internal responsibility. He despised the man who blamed the world for his own emptiness. He believed the only worthy battle was the one fought within. He who cannot command himself should obey. And in this, he offered an early glimpse of what psychologists would later affirm. Self-awareness is the foundation of self-worth, and self-worth is the foundation of authentic attraction. There's also the concept of self-determination theory, a psychological model that says humans are most fulfilled when 3 core needs are met: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy being self-directed, competence feeling capable and skilled, relatedness feeling connected in meaningful ways. When a man cultivates all 3, he becomes not just attractive, he becomes magnetic, because he's not chasing approval. He's not bending to trends. He's alive in his purpose. And purpose, like gravity, pulls others toward it. Let's touch on something deeper now. The mythological archetype of the king, not the tyrant. Not the weakling, but the benevolent king in Jungian psychology. The king represents the part of a man that brings order, blessing, and direction. He is fair, grounded, and serves a purpose larger than himself. When this archetype is activated, women feel it, not because you boast, because you radiate a centeredness that is rare. You don't need to dominate. Your presence does the work. Contrast this with the puppet king, the man who performs masculinity because he lacks inner grounding. He mimics the gestures, the voice, the posture. But women of depth sense the emptiness underneath, and they turn away, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct, because real connection requires real essence. We also can't ignore the role of emotional regulation. Neuroscience shows that the ability to stay calm under stress, to respond rather than react, signals high emotional intelligence. This isn't just a dating skill, it's a life skill. In relationships, it creates trust. In conflict, it allows repair. In intimacy, it allows depth. And when women experience this calm in a man, something in them relaxes. The armor drops. Connection deepens. Finally, we must speak about polarity, the dance between masculine and feminine energy. This is not about gender roles, it's about energy. Masculine energy is direction, presence, consciousness. Feminine energy is flow, emotion, creation. When a man is truly in his grounded masculine, not through force, but through awareness, he naturally draws in feminine energy. It's a law of nature. But when he is scattered, reactive, or uncentered, that polarity breaks and attraction fades. So, if we merge Nietzsche's call to self-overcoming with modern psychology's insights into attachment, regulation, and archetypes, we get a powerful synthesis. The man who attracts a quality woman isn't chasing her. He's integrating himself. He's building internal safety. He's reclaiming his shadow. He's activating his king. And that is what she feels. That is what draws her. Not the lines you say, not the image you project, but the silent integrity of a man who knows himself. There's a quiet tragedy unfolding in the lives of many men today, not because they lack potential, but because they never activated, because they never asked the deeper questions, never faced their reflection in the mirror without flinching, never become who they were meant to be. And the cost of this avoidance, it ripples through every area of their lives, especially in love. When you fail to grow into your power, you don't just miss out on attracting quality women. You attract relationships that drain you, confuse you, or leave you feeling invisible. You chase women who do not respect you, who manipulate or diminish you, not always maliciously, but because your energy invites it. The absence of self-respect becomes a magnet for those who don't know how to love. This is the brutal cycle so many men fall into. Confusion, rejection, anger, and back to confusion. You become reactive, mistaking attention for love, drama for passion, sex for intimacy. You try harder, get louder, flex more, but somehow feel even more unseen. The women you truly desire, the ones with emotional depth, vision, and a quiet strength, seem uninterested. And the ones who are interested often reflect the chaos you haven't yet resolved within. And this isn't just bad luck, it's alignment. As Nietzsche warned, when a man lives without self-overcoming, he sinks into bitterness. He becomes cynical, blaming women, society, or modern dating for what is ultimately a spiritual and psychological avoidance. This isn't judgment, it's a wake-up call, because this bitterness doesn't just ruin relationships, it destroys you. It makes you distrustful, closed, overly critical, and emotionally unavailable. Over time, it hardens into a mask, a performance. It's a man who's alive, but not really living. Let's speak honestly. A man who is disconnected from his inner world often becomes addicted to outer stimulation. Whether it's casual sex, pornography, endless scrolling, or chasing status, it becomes a way to numb the ache, to distract from the shame of not feeling chosen. But here's the truth, most don't want to say aloud. No woman, no matter how beautiful or soulful, can fix the void that exists where your sense of self should be. That void has to be faced. It's not filled. Faced. That's what Nietzsche meant when he said, if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. He wasn't being morbid. He was describing transformation. The pain of confronting your emptiness is the very thing that awakens your wholeness. Now, let's talk about what happens when this process is ignored. Psychologically, men who never confront their inner wounds tend to become emotionally stunted. They may succeed in business or fitness, but remain boys in relationships, either passive and apologetic, or domineering and distant. Their partners feel unsafe, unseen, or unfulfilled. Over time, these relationships collapse or become cold, and transactional. Even if they succeed on paper, marriage, house, stability, there's no fire, no intimacy, roles being played. Socially, this stagnation creates isolation. Men start to feel alienated, not just from women, but from other men, become distrustful of brotherhood, uncomfortable with vulnerability, and disconnected from true mentorship. Hey, they might surround themselves with shallow friendships or online echo chambers, but rarely feel truly met. And without being seen by others, they forget how to see themselves. Emotionally, the damage can be severe. Anxiety, depression, and emotional numbness aren't always loud. They often creep in quietly through the loss of wonder, the dulling of ambition, the subtle resentment toward women who seem too much or too unavailable. But what these men are really resenting is their own uninitiated soul. It's part of them that knows they were meant for more. More courage, more intimacy, more life, but sees them settling for less. There's also a spiritual cost. When you disconnect from becoming, you disconnect from your essence. Nietzsche, though critical of organized religion, deeply valued the spiritual journey, the soul's confrontation with meaning, power, and destiny. When that journey is ignored, a man may drift for years without realizing he's spiritually asleep. And spiritual sleep often looks like endless consumption, working hard, partying harder, performing masculinity, seeking validation in every glance, every reply, every like. But there's something even more painful, the loss of vision. When a man doesn't become who he was born to be, he stops dreaming, he settles, he stops writing, building, leading, creating. He stops imagining a woman who challenges and inspires him, because deep down, he no longer believes he deserves her. That's the ultimate tragedy. Not rejection by a woman, but self-abandonment. Let's return for a moment to mythology. In many ancient stories, the hero doesn't win the love of the goddess simply by fighting dragons. He must first descend into the underworld, face his past, his wounds, his pride. Only then does he return with something real to offer. Not bravado, but wisdom. Not just strength, but depth. And that is what calls the sacred feminine out of hiding. Men who refuse this descent remain stuck in surface encounters. They meet women who reflect their avoidance, and they confuse chemistry with compatibility. But the women who are deep, grounded, radiant, they are not waiting at the surface. They are found in the deep waters. And only a man who has swum there himself can meet them eye to eye. So, if you felt the sting of being overlooked, or the loneliness of feeling unseen by women who move your soul, know this. It's not a punishment. It's a signal, a call to become, not for her, for you. 'Cause the woman of your dreams doesn't want you to chase her. She wants you to rise. By now, you'll understand the weight of the task. Not how to attract a quality woman through tricks or persuasion, but through transformation. Through the slow, brutal, beautiful process of becoming someone she can feel without you needing to announce it. So, let's talk about what that process looks like in real life. Not hypothetically, not philosophically, but practically, psychologically, spiritually, emotionally. Build inner structure before external style. We live in a world obsessed with surface, fashion, grooming, aesthetics. These things matter, yes, but only after you've built the inner cathedral. A quality woman is not looking for a man who merely looks good. She is seeking a man whose inner life is disciplined, even sacred. A man who has habits, rituals, standards. So start with this question. Do you respect yourself in private? If a camera followed your life for a week, would it capture consistency or chaos, quiet intention or scattered noise? The first practice is structure. Wake early, make your bed, size your body like it is a temple, right? Meditate, fast from digital noise. These aren't trendy self-help tips. They're sacred boundaries that protect your attention, because attention is your greatest resource. It is the soil in which character grows. And character, real, embodied, quiet character is what attracts quality women more than any pickup line ever could. To do the shadow work consistently, you must face your inner darkness, not once, not during a breakup or failure, but as a lifestyle. Okay. That means journaling when you're triggered, not blaming. It means asking, where am I still afraid to be seen? It means going back to your father wound, your mother wound, your deepest shame, not to drown in them, but to transmute them. Nietzsche spoke often of transformation through suffering, of turning one's pain into fuel. This alchemy, Jung, too, insisted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So many men blame women, fate, God, when what they're really facing is a reflection of their unhealed self. If you can afford therapy, go. If not, journal daily, record voice notes. Kate, on your anger, your lust, your fear of intimacy. Bring it all into the light. Because the man who has integrated his shadow doesn't fear depth in others. He welcomes it, and that makes him safe. Safe doesn't mean boring. It means grounded, and grounded is magnetic. 3. Lead with vision, not performance. What do you believe in? What hill would you die on? What dream keeps waking you up at 3 a.m.? Too many men perform ambition without real vision. A quality woman sees the difference. She knows when your goals are projections and when they're prayers. Nietzsche's Übermensch wasn't just strong, he was creative. He created values. He lived from the inside out, not the outside in. This is what you must do. Create your own code. Define your own masculinity. Stop copying influencers. Stop outsourcing your soul to what the world says you should be. Write your creed. Not for anyone else, for yourself. What do you stand for in love, in work, in presence? Then live it, not loudly, but faithfully. About quiet, focused energy will draw in the kind of woman who has stopped playing games. 4. Regulate before you relate. Emotional regulation is the most underrated superpower in modern relationships. You must become the calm in the storm, not stoic to the point of detachment, but spacious, reflective, able to feel deeply without being pulled into chaos. Practice breathwork. Practice pausing before reacting. When you're triggered, name the emotion. Own it. Let it move through you before acting. This creates what psychologists call emotional containment, and women with self-awareness feel this containment as safety. When she's emotional, can you listen without fixing? Can you stay grounded when she tests your boundaries? Not from cold indifference, but from earned inner mastery. That is strength. That is security. That is attraction. 5. Develop masculine-feminine awareness. No matter how progressive or spiritual we become, the dance of masculine and feminine energies remains ancient and real. It's not about dominance or submission. It's about polarity, the spark that arises when opposite but complementary energies recognize each other. If you lean masculine, cultivate depth, direction, presence. Be the anchor, not the storm. Let our emotions move, but don't become them. That doesn't mean you don't cry or express. It means you remain aware of your center, even in chaos. If she's feminine at her core, she is feeling the world every second. The question is, can you meet her with clarity, not control? Can you say no with love? Yes, with certainty, and listen with full attention. That is what opens her, not perfection. Not power games, just presence. 6. Create a circle of integrity. You are the average of the men you spend time with. If they are shallow, reactive, or emotionally avoidant, guess what you're absorbing. Find men who challenge you, who call you out, who value growth over comfort. This is your forge, your brotherhood. In ancient tribes, men didn't learn masculinity from books. They learned it from elders, from mentors, from warriors who had seen darkness and returned with gold. Today, we must rebuild that. Seek out these men, or become one. If you don't have that circle, Start with solitude. Let your own conscience become your mentor. Read Marcus Aurelius. Read Jung. Read Rumi. Let them father you into silence. 7. Live from soul, not strategy. The deepest feminine, the quality woman, is not moved by tactics. She is moved by truth. And truth doesn't shout. Tage, it radiates. So stop asking, what should I say to impress her? And start asking, who am I when no one is watching? Let that man speak. Let that man show up. The one who's been hiding behind comparison, shame, or false confidence. The one who doesn't need applause because he knows who he is. If you want to attract a quality woman, then build a life so full of presence, depth, and quiet excellence that she doesn't just want to be a part of it. She feels called to rise into it with you. You came here with a question, how to attract a quality woman. But what you've hopefully discovered is that this question, while common, was never really about her. It was always about you. Not in a selfish way, but in a sacred way. Because every woman you meet, every rejection, every moment of chemistry, every silence is reflecting something about your alignment, your wounds, your growth, or your avoidance. She is not your goal. She is your mirror. Nietzsche understood this, though he rarely framed it romantically. To him, love was never just about affection. It was a battleground for the soul. A place where we are either called to evolve or tempted to collapse. And so, the quality of woman you draw into your life reveals the quality of your becoming. If you chase women to feel like a man, you are still a boy in search of validation. If you become a man so rooted in his purpose, so grounded in his presence, so honest in his wounds, you won't need to chase. You will draw her in, not with games, but with gravity. A quality woman is not a reward. She is a reflection of the standards you hold within. She is drawn to the man who walks with awareness, who listens more than he speaks, who can hold both fire and tenderness without being consumed by either. She's not impressed by performance. She's moved by presence, by the man who doesn't just say he's different, but actually is. So let's pause here. Really pause. Ask yourself, who have I been becoming in silence? When no one's watching, when the room is dark, when it's 2 a.m. and the doubts creep in. That man, that inner, unpolished, breathing version of you, he is the one she will meet. Not the curated one, not the one you post online, but the one you live with. This is why you must become whole. Not perfect, not fearless, but whole. Because wholeness is rare, and quality women are drawn to rarity. It's not rarity of status, not rarity of looks, but the rarity of self-ownership in a world of men still pretending. Look at the ancient myths, the great stories, the legends. The hero never wins the woman by rescuing her. He wins her by transforming himself, by descending into the underworld, confronting his chaos, rising with wisdom, becomes worthy not by asking for love, but by embodying it, by walking like someone who knows the sacredness of connection and the discipline it requires. Because love, real love, is not found, it is built. And it can only be built by two people who are already whole on their own. So, if you're still chasing, stop. If you're still performing, pause. If you're still afraid of being alone, sit with it, because the man who can sit alone in silence, in his truth, is the man she will feel before you even speak. And when she does arrive, when her gaze meets yours, when her energy begins to circle yours, you won't need to strategize. You'll just meet her as you are, as she is. No mask, no pretense. Just two souls recognizing the work the other has done. This is the real seduction. Not lust, not lines, but readiness. So become the man who is ready. For her, for life, for love. And in doing so, you'll realize something beautiful. You weren't trying to attract a quality woman. You were trying to become the kind of man who no longer needs to ask how. If you've made it this far, something in you is already shifting. You're not here for empty strategies. You're not looking for shortcuts or fake charm. You're here because you're ready to understand yourself at a deeper level, to evolve beyond the noise, to walk the path of self-mastery, okay? And to stop chasing women. Start becoming the man you were born to be. This space, this channel, isn't about surface-level advice. It's about reclaiming your power in a way that is honest, grounded, and wise. We blend ancient insight with modern psychology, philosophy with practice, soul with structure. Because real transformation doesn't happen in hacks. It happens in honesty and in intention. If this resonated with you, if you felt seen, challenged, or awakened, subscribe and stay with us. Not because you're trying to become perfect, but because you're ready to become whole. This is a space for the man who wants more. More depth, more purpose, more connection. Not just with others, but with himself. We're building something rare here. A community of men who refuse to live on autopilot, who ask deeper questions, who walk with vision, who speak with integrity, who lead with love. If that's you, you belong here. So join us. We'll keep exploring the forgotten truths. We'll keep decoding the ancient wisdom. We'll keep honoring the journey, messy, powerful, sacred, of becoming. Because when you become the kind of man who leads with presence, okay, you won't have to chase anything. The right people will find you. The right woman will feel you. And your life will begin to echo something greater than success. It will echo meaning. Subscribe. Stay curious. Okay, keep becoming. We're just getting started.